In this tutorial, I am going to show you how to do a proper counter, but using the components. Um, um, so the first is obviously start drawing the elements that will be part of the container. In this case, like the button to reduce the quantity, the button to add quantity, and the number in the middle. If you see the layers right at the left, you have the elements are separated. They are not grouped at all. So what I'm going to start doing is obviously convert this as a component. So make sure to select the three of them. You can either drag them like this, or you can select the layers. To convert this as a component, you create a component by in the properties panel right here, or right click as well. You can find create component here. Okay, and now it's just a component, but okay. Basically now we have to create one variant per number that we want to increase. We don't have to increase every single number. You just basically, if your flow is adding 3 or 2 or 1, so that's what you probably need. So it's not like you have to go infinite. So the next bit is going to create the variants that I want to use, and you can tick and add variant in the properties panels right here. And then select add variant. You can see as soon as you add a second variant, there is a little plus here, which is also to create an extra variant. So you can tick there, and let's say that we create 3 variants, because I'm going to go up to number 3. So before moving forward, what I'm going to do is to show you a little bit what we are trying to do, which is represented in the counter finished page. Let me do a preview so we can see. So this is what we are aiming on this activity. So, so I'm going to come back to the counter page. And okay, I'm going to start making the modifications that I need. Obviously, this is going to be number 0, number 1, number 2, and number 3. Because I do not want the user to click below 0, because there's nothing below 0. I may want to change the look of this one to something a little bit more gray. Maybe I can just reduce the opacity in the properties panel to 50. Just somehow there is some kind of a cue that you cannot go beyond this bit. And then I am going to change the numbers. So I am going to select this up. Okay, as I can see, there is something that is going to bug me. If I change to 1, do you see that it's not aligned? And that's because the text itself, as the text box, is not aligned to the center. Like in the simple property panel here, if I change that, when I change it, it will be aligned to the center. So this is a little bit of detail. It would have been better to do it before, but you can do it anytime. So now I'm going to change it to see if that looks better. So number 1, yeah, that's it. That seems to be center. Number 2 and number 3. Okay. And the next bit is just linking it up. So basically taking the plus one and go to prototype, and you can actually click here and drag it if you want, or you can add in interactions at the right and on click, because I also want to have it on click. Change to, and then which property? So I'm going to the variant 2. So dragging will be more obvious. you want. Otherwise, if you want to see where it's going, you also have the layers. So you can just select instant sort of animation, and I can just say it's smart animate. That's up to you. Doesn't make much difference in this case to use a smart animate or instant. Then okay, so then I will do the same for every single one. I can do just drag it on click, change to variant 3, smart animate, good. Normally it saves the previous action, so change to variant 4, cool. So then obviously I'm going to do the same with a -1. So I'm going to just do this, change to the 4. Okay, maybe that's what you're going to do before adding it to the page, because one thing is to create in the component, right, like that, and then now we have to add it on the page. I would like to see if it works. I wish there is another way to view if it works, but if I do preview from here, as you know, it just basically displays the component as it looks, and that's not what I want. I want to see if what I did is actually doing what I wanted to do. So I'm going to assets, and this is the page when it's listed here, because sometimes, because I already create one, that's why it's showing us two. So the first thing is, okay, this is the name of the page. If you don't remember, you can go here, counter, and then components, because the name of the frame is the second cue. So I go to components. Okay, here it is. Remember that you have to drag it to drag the element to see the whole component working, because if I click here and I insert instance, I'm only inserting the instance without the interaction. Okay, so that's an important bit. So then I am going to select components, go to preview, and after that I'm going to see, okay, yeah, it's working. Then I'm going to the counter components, and okay, now it's the bit more complicated bit. That is okay, now it's ready, I know it's working. So I am going to incorporate it in my design, because I already have a layout in place, and I'm going to duplicate two because I want to demonstrate two different things. So I have page 1 and page 2. The page 1 is when the page already has auto layout, and the page 2 I am going to attach the auto layout. So with this one has doesn't have an auto layout, this one has an auto layout, and it doesn't really matter if it does, but the only difference is that you may have to rearrange it to add it to a page that doesn't have auto layout. Okay, so I am going to select it because I already have it here. I can copy and replace. It's kind of one of the easiest way. You can also drag it directly. It's good to actually tell exactly where you want it and go to the layer where it's going to be placed. So let's say that I want it here, and in this case I wanted to replace the bottom, for example. So one way is to select, click. I'm going to go to the layer so it's more clear. It's more clear where I am, and I am going to select bottom. I'm going to click until I actually select this component that I already created before, and you see the bottom group here, and then I'm going to select here and I'm going to say paste to replace, so it actually just replaced the element without having to move anything around. That's going to be one easy way. But what happens if I want to add it below the button? So again, I can select where I'm going to go, so body of this, and then I'm going to paste it. Let's see what happens. I'm selecting this body and paste it. I need to add it. If I don't do it, it can be very confusing sometimes where to paste it. So what happens if I do card, the individual card, and I paste it? Yep, good. But if I'm selecting this element, for example, by mistake and just paste it, it's going to paste it inside the frame that is selected. It's something that you have to keep in mind if you want to be very precise at where you want the component or the element. You just kind of have to select the frame or layer where it's going. And as you can see, if this one has the smart layout, and as you can see, this element kind of adjusts. If I am going to delete this again and delete this again to show us it. You see how this element adjusts automatically when I add it. So that means that I do not have to readjust it. That's the advantages of using auto layout. So I am going to add it again, and you see how we adjust. So that's way the whole thing, I don't have to handle it again. So this frame already has auto layout and it adjusts. If I don't have, this one doesn't have auto layout, then I am going to add it, and I want to do the same, and I'm going to add it below the bottom. If I replace the bottom, it doesn't make any difference because it's going to be paste to replace. It doesn't change the height of the layers, so it just doesn't make any difference. But if I select this element, right, and I'm selecting the whole card, and I paste, you see how I cannot see anything because it's not pushing the one at the bottom below. So then I will have to move everything around. So I have to select the whole page, move it, and then move it everything. So I'll select all of this and move it. So you have to manually readjust everything if it doesn't have it. That's the only difference. If that's the way you prefer to go, that's fine. It will work either way. It's just more efficient to do it if the container has auto layout. That's the only thing that I wanted to show. Let me see. Let me do preview to see if it's working. Scroll down. Yep. And it will work regardless of where you paste it because the component is working. So you don't have to do every single one. And that is the advantage of using and creating a component and reusing. So, yep, that's it. I hope it helped. See you next time.